So here's how it works. We're looking for the standout shots from the 2021 UK Championships, and helpfully the BBC has put together a video of what it believes to be the very best shots from the tournament. But should I be trusting that, especially after what happened last week? Well, hopefully so, because it was put together by this guy, and although there's a few questionable choices in there, he still seems to have chosen all the best shots. So I thought I'd find out for myself by attempting to recreate all of them. I'm looking to recreate all of these shots as accurately as possible in the fewest possible attempts, which is going to be a challenge. Although the Judd trump shot we're beginning with doesn't appear to be that difficult. This is what snooker players refer to as a key shot because it gives you a chance to win a frame that wasn't really there before. And there was a real chance Judd could have ended up on absolutely nothing here if he got the shot wrong, as I did on my first few attempts and didn't cannon the right red. But what am I doing wrong? The reason this is so tough is because you've got to get maximum backspin on the cue ball while playing it incredibly slowly. It requires really smooth cueing and is a lot harder than it looks. This could yet be a winner. Judd's shot was tougher than it looks, but this one from Ronnie appears to be borderline impossible. The reason this is so difficult, as we'll see in a minute, is because you have to get so close to the brown and the blue to actually get anywhere near the red. But not only is the positional element of this shot difficult, potting the black is tough as well, especially as you're cueing down off the cushion and you have to put quite a lot of side spin on the cue ball. I quickly realised if I wanted any chance of getting on the red, I needed to play the shot with maximum left-hand side, and that was just making things harder. Because you're striking down to play this, you're almost swerving the cue ball into the black, which makes the pot incredibly difficult. This is all about stunning the cue ball into exactly the right place, so you can allow for a weird effect between the side spin and the bolt cushion. The huge amount of side spin makes it break wider off the bolt cushion and even makes it swerve slightly around the brown, and without that you wouldn't be able to avoid the blue. This one's probably going to lose marks because the frame was already over, but saying that, it's probably one of the hardest shots I've had to recreate in quite some time. At one stage I genuinely believed this was impossible and I was never going to get it. I actually thought I'd put the balls in the wrong place somehow, but as it turned out it was just about on if you got really close to the brown. I was really happy to get this after just 12 attempts, and I think it's the hardest shot I've tried since that Judd trump green. Next up, we've got Selt digging his way out of trouble against Judd trump. This shot alone was a big reason why he ended up winning the match. This is a really well executed shot, played in such a way that it was likely to go safe if he missed. I made a mistake, I believe, with this one, thinking it needed a small amount of the left-hand side to get the cue ball to spin across the table at the right angle. And I don't believe it needed this, which is why I kept ending up in the wrong place. But all in all, it wasn't quite as difficult as I was expecting this one. Not that Judd was finished yet, because from this position, he started to mount a comeback. This is really just a desperation pot. Judd had no other shot here, and being able to pot a shot under that amount of pressure is really impressive. So as you can imagine, I was really happy to get it on my first attempt, although I didn't quite get the cannon. Very slightly missed the cannon there because I played it a little bit too slowly and potted it a little bit thick, but that's pretty good for a first attempt. The next shot's from Walden, and unfortunately it looks like it might be one of the weaker ones. I only say that because it seemed like a natural angled shot to get the cue ball in the right position if you pot the red, but as it turned out it needed a small trace of left hand side to get the cue ball in the right position, and this made it a little bit harder. After a few goes I realised this was a little bit harder than I was expecting, and although it might not be the best shot on this list, I can definitely see why it was chosen, and 4 attempts seemed about right for this one. Next we got a rest shot from Kyren Wilson, and again it's one that doesn't appear to be too difficult. Although he does screw the cue ball back quite a way and end up potting the brown on his next shot, so how close to that can I get? So as it turns out, that's going to be a lot harder than it looks. I was using a small amount of side with this one to help me spin the cue ball back off the cushion, but that wasn't easy to do and the pot wasn't that easy. In the end, unfortunately, I couldn't do any better than this. So I'm the wrong side of the blue, but unfortunately I think that's about as well as I can play it. Before our next shot, we're just going to find Raviraj from Rajkot, India, which is there. Zhao was impressive all week, and this is just another clever shot that helped him secure a match win. But how difficult is it to play this? As I explained in my last video, if I don't get the balls in exactly the right place, that can make a plant like this quite a bit harder or quite a bit easier. I believed I positioned them fairly well and even thought I got it on my first attempt, but just caught the near jaw. On my second it actually went in, but how difficult was this shot to play? It's always difficult to tell with plants exactly where they were, but if it was somewhere like that, it was a good spot, but the shot itself wasn't too difficult. Next up, Ronnie pots the yellow quite hard. But before that, we're just going to find Eken from Vienna, Austria. There we go. I can see why every other shot was chosen for this video except for this one, as it just seems to be a fairly decent pot across the table. There was a bit of a disturbance on the other side of the arena as the crowd were coming back from the other table, and Ronnie decided to wait it out, which I'm sure would have been off-putting at a tense part of the match. But when you play this yellow for yourself, is there something about it that's a little harder than just seeing it on TV? Not really, no. Ronnie's next shot, however, is definitely a lot tougher, and he played it left-handed. This really was a tough shot, especially with your other hand, and Ronnie needed it and the clearance to get back 3-all against Kyren Wilson. Ironically with this one, I can't actually reach it right-handed, but you know, anyway. I'm not too good left-handed, and until I queued up to the ball, I wasn't sure how difficult it was going to be, but after a couple attempts, I realised this is going to be tough. You need the right hand side spin to slow the cue ball down when it hits the two cushions, but that makes the pot very missable, especially when you're trying to play it left-handed. I feel I really should have done a lot better with this one and wasn't really happy with the result in the end, but I got close to the brown. Unfortunately, that's going to have to do it because I simply can't hit the cue ball any harder left-handed. Kyren Wilson next, having to dig down off the bolt cushion to pot a ball over the pocket. Obviously, all the backspin you put on the shot starts to come away over distance, so when you have a shot that's this far away, it's incredibly difficult to screw back or even just stun a little bit. Striking down off the bolt cushion like this, I was surprised to see the pot was a little bit harder than I was expecting. On my first attempt I didn't quite get on the red, but I managed to stun it over in the end. The pot itself was actually a lot easier than I was expecting considering the distance. The difficult bit was controlling the cue ball. The official results placed Judd Trump with shot A third, shot J from Kyren Wilson second, and shot I from Ronnie O'Sullivan first. But honestly, after playing these shots for myself, I had a very slightly different opinion of this. So for third, I'm going to say Kyren Wilson's rest shot. This was a brilliant shot and it would probably finish higher, but I don't think he necessarily needed to get the cue ball to come that far back. Second place goes to Judd Trump. This simple looking shot opened up the possibility of clearing the table, something that definitely wasn't on before he played it, and it was a really tough shot to get right at the same time. But I feel first place goes to Ronnie O'Sullivan with this shot on the black. Yes, it's a bit of a bash around the table when the frame's already over, and maybe he was a bit fortunate to finish on the red, but this was definitely one of the hardest shots I've tried to recreate in quite a while. So compared with what we saw from the Champion of Champions last week, these were all a lot better choices, except this one questionable shot. And although I don't quite agree with the results, I can see why those shots were chosen, as they had a big part to play in the results of the frames. It's just after playing the shots for myself, I had a slightly different opinion. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you want to see videos of me recreating shots from past tournaments, have a look at these two. And remember, don't just watch, play, and make the commitment to becoming a better player by subscribing to the channel and visit the website. See you later.